Hello everybody, today I'm going to go through my Make 9 for 2023 and also give you a little bit of a sewing room tour. So I just want to tell you about what I'm wearing. This is the Vogue 9624. It is a stretch pattern. I've made it with some stretched crush velvet. It's got princess seams, high neck, and it is extremely comfortable. It fits okay, but I want it to fit perfectly. So this is what brings me on to my Make 9s. The first thing I'm going to try and make is this sloper. This is the Vogue 1004. It is, as I said, a sloper pattern. The idea being, you make this, there's a top, a skirt and a sleeve. And once you make this up, then you can make basically any Vogue pattern fit you, but also you can draft patterns from it. So this is one of the first things that I want to do this year, and in fact I've already traced this pattern out, so there will be a video coming with that shortly, so don't forget to subscribe if you want to see me make this. This is my sewing room. I am extremely lucky and very thankful for having a room this large that I can do my sewing in. I have space for cutting out table, all my machines out, my fabric, and a big thank you to my husband who actually built this room for me. So let's get started on the tour. This is my backdrop area. This is where I try and show you what the clothes I'm making or give you some intros and outros and things like that. This is my clothes dummy. I've not named her. Do you name your clothes dummies? Let me know in the comments below, or what you think I should name her. I don't really use her for drafting or anything, but I do use her to display the clothes that I have just made. So if you see something that she's wearing, go and have a look at my back catalogue and you'll probably find a video for it. For the second of my Make 9s, I'm going to make this shirt. It is the Vogue 8772. It is a basic shirt with bust darts and waist darts. The idea being, if I make the last sloper pattern to fit me, then I can use what I learned from that and then make this shirt fit me. I always find it difficult to make any clothes fit me really, just because of my proportions. So I think having that basic block made from the 9004, I can then use that to make this shirt. I'm not quite sure which version I am going to make, probably just the basic shirt to start with, just to see if I can get it to fit me properly. But I'm quite excited to use what I learned from the sloper pattern and apply it to this pattern. This is my little pattern nook, I guess. This is where I keep all my paper patterns, my sewing magazines and my sewing books. And then in this corner, I've got some hanging space where I can put the clothes that I have made or in the process of making. The third pattern I've got in my Make 9 is the 8577 shirt dress. I love this pattern. In fact, I have already made a dress using this pattern, this dress here, which is lovely. The pockets are absolutely huge, but the problem being, as I'm finding with all Vogue patterns, this doesn't fit me. So what the plan is, make the sloper pattern, change this pattern and make that dress fit me well. So this part of my sewing room is where my machines are set up. I'm so lucky to be able to have them set up all the time. I've got my sewing machine on the one side and then my overlocker stroke serger on the other side. In between, I've got a set of these IKEA Alex drawers, which have got a lot of the tools that I use when I'm at my machines. I've also got a pegboard up here, which has got my scissors, tape measure, pattern weights, just bits and pieces like that. So the next pattern on my Make 9 is not a Vogue pattern, surprisingly. It's actually a Burda pattern. It is 6777. It's a bit of a vintage pattern. And basically, it's a jeans pattern. I really fancy trying to make a pair of jeans this year. I am toying with the idea of maybe trying to make a block for trousers, but we'll see how that goes. I might just make a toile out of this and see how this works out. This pattern has everything that I want. It's got the pockets, a little coin pocket, it's got the belt loop, it's got back pockets, it's got all like the top stitching and stuff that I want. They're quite high-waisted and they're not skinny jeans, but they're also not like wide leg jeans. So I think it'd be quite interesting to see how these turn out. So this is my stash, essentially. This is where I keep all of my material. So I've got a lot in these Kallax cubes and then I've got some in these boxes as well. Also got a lot of craft stuff in these boxes too. I love my stash, I love buying material, it is one of my vices. The next pattern I want to make on my Make 9 is another Vogue. It's the 9336. I actually just want to make the jacket portion of this pattern. I kind of want to make a bit of a capsule wardrobe, so I think this jacket would go really nicely with the jeans, for example. This jacket has some shoulder princess seams on it. Might have to make a modification to my block to be able to fit the princess seams well, but we'll see how we go with that. This is the area that I set up my ironing board. Without the ironing board here, there's a big space on the floor that I can use for cutting out if I need to. It's great having the ironing board set up here. I've got a good view of my monitor so I can watch Netflix or YouTube, normally YouTube. Behind me I've got a couple of other sewing machines. So I've got a nice vintage Singer sewing machine, and also I've got a Path Ambition. Both of these need to go and get a service, so they're just waiting till I have time in the new year to be able to do that. I've got some more Kallax units with more supplies in. And again, here I've got another Kallax unit, and then I've got just the small window in this room. That's why I've got to use so many of the lights that you might see reflected in my glasses quite a lot. The sixth pattern I want to make for my Make 9 is this Vogue pencil skirt, but it's not the pencil skirt that I want to make. It is actually the gorge skirt. I will be using the knowledge that I get from the sloper pattern to help me with this. This is quite a nice skirt. It's got yokes in it, and of course the gauze. I think it'll go really nicely with the jacket that I want to make, and also the shirt that I want to make. And I just think it'd be quite handy to have a nice floaty skirt in my wardrobe. And this is my sofa, although it is also a sofa bed. So even though this is my sewing room, it can be used as a spare room if required. Be handy having a sofa in here. It means I can sit in comfort and do a bit of hand sewing if I need to. Under this part of the sofa bed, there's some storage which has got quite a lot of naughty projects in there, ones that haven't quite turned out as well as I'd like, and so they are basically being hidden from myself. One of the things that I plan to do next year sat on this sofa is some smocking. So I did quite a bit of shearing last year, and I found those garments extremely comfortable to wear, and they were pretty simple to make as well, to be fair. So I want to kind of take it up a notch. So I've got this very old and tatty vintage pattern. It is Simplicity 7263. It's kind of like a transfer that you transfer onto the material. I'm not 100% sure how it works yet, but smocking is definitely on my Make 9 for next year. So this is basically my workstation. This is where I've got my computer and where I do all my editing. It's where I've got my monitors so I can watch TV or YouTube while I'm doing some sewing. I've got a little unit at the side that's got a lot of my stationery and stuff in, and of course my stereo so I can play some tunes while I'm sewing. The next pattern on my Make 9 might not necessarily be this pattern, but I want to make a bag. Now this was a free pattern from a UK sewing magazine last year or the year before. It's quite a simple little kind of clutch bag pattern. I don't know whether if I'll make this one or try and be a little bit more ambitious and make something else, or if I'll just try and draft something, but definitely a bag is on my list for this year. So the final part of this sewing room tour is the cutting table. So this is actually two tables put together. They're two Giacomo tables, I think, from IKEA. They're extremely handy because I can separate them and move them around the room depending on what I'm doing in here. They are a little bit low. I'd quite like to raise them up. So if you've got any ideas on how best to do that, please leave them in the comments for me below. Here are my 8 patterns. As you notice, there are only 8. That's because the 9th pattern, I don't actually have one at the moment. My plan is to do some knitting, but not knitting using needles. I have another plan. When I was at my mother's house a couple of weeks ago, we were going through some stuff in her attic and we found her old Brother knitting machine. So we've had a look at it. There are a few parts that are missing or need replaced. So we've got those on order, but the idea is we're going to try and get the machine up and running again and see if we can knit some jumpers. Now, this machine is pretty old. She used to knit me my school uniform jumpers on it. So yeah, we'll have to see whether that comes to fruition or not, but that is definitely the plan. My first pattern I'm going to make is the Vogue sloper. So if you'd like to see how that goes, then please consider subscribing. And if you want to see how I've already tried to change one of my Vogue patterns with a full bust adjustment, you might like this video here.